I'm gonna say good morning, and then we'll hit it whenever it comes
Well,
on.
Diana's already here from beautiful Manitoba.
I wonder if they got any of that storm. I just heard somebody talking about the northwestern America getting.
There's Michael. Michael.
Diana, good morning, guys. I was just looking up something.
Our brethren and sistren from the Great White North.
Yeah, that's what the brothers called it. What was their name in the show?
The Mackenzies.
Mackenzies. I forgot about that part.
Take off, you hoser, eh?
Hey. They always had those hats on with the beer cans.
And I shouldn't be saying nothing. I'm from Tennessee, so
yeah. Yeah, but it's
not like we don't say some stuff.
No. But it's good to have somebody to,
share the love with.
Yeah, to fence with, Oakley or whatever.
There's Carol.
Good morning,
Carol.
Good. Thanks for coming in. Good. I'm glad you guys made it this morning.
Who do we have on the football today? Anybody?
Tennessee plays Kentucky, but that's tonight. They're on the SEC channel. I don't know if you get that or not. It's an ESPN channel, but they call it. At least I think it is.
Well, everything's the SEC.
Well, that's true. Except Wyoming. You guys should have joined.
We
could say they're from South.
We would never make it.
They could say they're from Southeast Wyoming or something.
In the way folks think about things, their personalities, they could fit right in, but we don't tend to play at that level. So,
Carol, who is Michigan playing this weekend?
Michigan's playing Oregon.
Oh, are they?
The Ducks or the?
Oh, that could be a tough game for Michigan. They're undefeated, I think, or they beat somebody bad a week or two ago that they weren't expected to beat. The bear has escaped from the house. Has anyone seen him? You be quiet. Don't anybody answer that question.
It'd be awful to lose to a team called the Ducks.
Well, it happens. Oh, well, what about losing to a team called the Zips?
The what?
The Zips.
Oh, yeah, that'd be bad too.
VIP, they're from Kent. I think it's Kent State. Actually, they now play ball, and their name is the Zips, and it has something to do with because they're from Akron, the Akron area. It has something to do with the rubber industry, and I don't know what.
Oh yeah, I've seen their mascot.
Yeah, we might have even had it on here one day. The day we did mascot talk.
We haven't. Yeah, we did.
Who's this?
Look. Holy buckets, I'm dropped. Look at that outside. Yuck.
What a lovely day.
It's just 100% overcast and snowing and
snowy.
Well, we got back from Kentucky and it was like 79 degrees or something there when we left Hebron, Kentucky. And
they fly out of.
And we got back to 14 inches of snow at my house.
Welcome home, Dad.
Yay!
Oh, and no electricity either.
And no electricity.
Does your heat work at all without electricity, your gas furnace?
No, we got a old wood stove in the kitchen.
Oh, in the kitchen. Did you
The
fire
big-
it up?
No, I didn't. They got us turned back on early enough that I didn't have to worry about that. But
Brenda says, I'm not sure if he has snacks or not today. He has his coffee. That's right. I got my coffee. I'm gone till I get hungry, and then I'll come home. That'd be like Andy Griffith. Nobody packed me no peanut butter jelly sandwiches. You remember the one with Tex?
who was that? Ron Howard's brother, little brother Clint. What did he? Oh, what was his name? Leon.
Oh, Leon. Yeah.
He always was holding a sandwich up to people.
Oh,
People probably haven't watched as much Andy Griffith as we have. So
no, probably not. I'm not sure anybody's watched this much or more than you have. So
the Stanley family, they've watched it more
okay.
than me.
So, well, they probably would. That makes sense, I guess, in a way. The one where the kid came that was running away, the toe-headed kid showed
Oh
up.
yeah, I just watched that last night.
Pistols on his hips, and he was going to go to Texas.
Tex, he was Tex. He was either going to move to Texas or Wyoming to be a cowboy.
He was running away from home, so I hope he wanted to fix him. Or maybe he did fix him, a whole sack full of.
He did, like peanut butter and tuna fish and peanut butter and
Yuck. Yes, he did. Yes, he did. But then Tex figured out he wasn't going to be able to sleep. Andy told him a story. He wasn't going to ever see his dad again, or he couldn't sleep in his own bed or something, because that's
and he was going to need a bigger wagon to haul all the sandwiches that he'd need to get out there.
All the way to Texas, yeah.
And he didn't have a horse yet, and he needed snowshoes.
And he didn't have any snowshoes.
He didn't have any snowshoes.
No, Maple Bacon has some good news. Let's hear it, Mike. You have the proverbial floor.
He got a horse trailer, didn't he?
My coffee tastes really good today.
Or he just got his motorcycle.
Oh, could be. He said something about that to me the other day, but he said he hadn't bought one yet. But he did say yet. Or maybe he found a horse trailer.
Or it's really warm in Manitoba today. Or
well, it's not a Harley or a horse trailer. If it was, I'd be doing a live stream. You better. Diana says, no horse trailer. Oh, poo-poo all the fun.
you know what the Lakotas called horses was Shunkawakan, which is God's dog.
God's dog, yeah.
So, if you're dog people, horses are cool.
He got a second promotion at work offer, not filling out the paperwork this weekend to accept. Oh, no. Just now, not real. Well, good, Mike. Good for you, buddy. I am sure it's more than well deserved. They got a chance to let you highlight your skills and show them what you can do, and somebody was actually watching for a change. Been my experience that nobody's ever looking when you do something good. Now, just remember one thing, Mike. Since you're up to a new position, just remember how attaboys are hard to get. But it sounds like you're building a good stack of attaboys right now. But remember, one shit wipes out all your attaboys. Pardon my language.
But if you got a big old promotion, now you can afford that horse trailer.
Oh, yes. We can start talking horse trailers again. Tina, I'm sorry about that. It's probably something I did. I've screwed things up. I had to fix things. The show wasn't going to come on till 10 a.m. and luckily I noticed it before time to start, or nobody would have been here. Mark might have showed up.
No horse trailer.
No horse. She's got an exclamation point after that too. Like maybe she means that. Come on, Diana. I want you to come down and visit. I got your parking spot cleaned out and everything. Got the lawnmower back, so if you guys want to ride a lawnmower when it's warm instead of mowing snow or something.
You guys can come down here and you can vicariously live the horse life without having to have them.
Yeah, Mark's got horses.
I got plenty, so just come on down.
That way you can even maybe load one up in the trailer and back it out of the truck. Not drive off with it, load it, unload it, just for saying and maybe let it take a crap so it's a real trailer. But Mike, congratulations. All seriousness, all funny foolishness aside, that's great. We'll have to talk later. We'll have to give me a call or I'll call you. I'd like to hear more about it. And now that I've got my lid all dirty because I dropped it in the floor. I don't have a cat hair problem out here in the library. I got a beard hair problem, I think. I dropped that in the floor, and when I picked it up, it had beard hairs on it. That's not good. All right, so here's the deal, guys.
I trim mine, so.
They make you do that to fly to Ohio or what?
I couldn't get on the airplane looking like the Bedouin.
How dare them. He can't wait to see somebody else ride that bull. No, that's the truth. I can't wait to see. I want to see if anybody else gets bucked off. Like I said, I like cutting grass, especially if I have a cold one in a cup holder. This here lawnmower bucking bull that I've got has a cup holder right in the side. I think in the left-hand fender well. You can just set a cold one in there and drive and mow all you want to, buddy. And if you're really serious, I can get a cover thing for it so you can do it in the shade.
You can sit your little green tea or whatever you're sipping on.
I got a feeling what he's sipping on is made out of barley.
I hope so.
Oh my God! It came back the other day. I had cold chills when I looked out the window and there it sat in the yard. Just
he was snorting in the pen,
clawing at the dirt,
and snorty, all snorty.
Diana thought the green tea thing was funny. Looked like. What are you trying to say, Diana? Go inside my.
Well, as far as I'm concerned, that is not an actual beverage.
I don't understand it anyway. And all tea green.
If you're gonna drink something like that, just drink water. It's free.
It's free. Yeah, they like to charge extra for green tea. And all tea green, when you pick it,
Well, I don't know. It's like put a bunch of weeds in a cup and let it steep a little bit, and you never really get to actually taste it because it's so weak.
Yeah,
we could have a whole show about how Mark hates tea. Sweet tea, regular tea, whatever kind of tea. If it says tea, it's just not right.
Yes, my love, there is a cup holder on your CC rider. Notice she said my.
The CC rider.
Right now, I don't even want to get close to the thing.
I told you to turn him out. I told you when you drew him to turn him out.
And I didn't. I couldn't do it, and I paid the price.
It's just like getting on Bodacious. You should have just turned him out because he's gonna hit you in the face.
Yeah. They dandelion tea would be free. Well, that's true, Tina. You can pick all that.
And I could do some of that, or sassafras.
I made sassafras.
I like sassafras tea, but you can't drink too much of it because it
Thins
gets
your
to
blood.
you.
Well, it thins your blood.
Well, and other bodily fluids.
Tea always makes me want to go to the bath. I've drank a lot of tea in my life. I must admit, my mother made tea. I always had a fresh jug of sweet tea in the refrigerator because we always drank it. And when I was growing up, that's all I knew just about that and a Pepsi Cola. I was raised right in that regard. Thank God Coke never came in my house. Still, I left.
Because they're commies.
Drinking it. What?
Because that red can means communism.
Communism, that's right. Communists make that stuff. That's why it is red. Look, Tina says, face it, bulls aren't meant for riding. Well, there's a whole lot of people making a living doing it that would say no. Well, actually, some of them would agree with you.
There was a time I would have argued with you, but that time is gone.
Yeah, Mark's been broke. He's been banged up a time or two on bulls, silly man. JB Mooney, I wonder if
I spit all my marbles out and lost my marbles and became a bull rider.
Temporarily.
But it wasn't for very long.
Wasn't professional either.
When you're like 28, 29 years old and you feel like you're 70, it's time to start doing something else. There's John.
John, good morning, surf bum.
He's wishing me, well, thank you, John.
Well, yeah, well, damn, we won't be on your birthday. I didn't think of that.
Well, it don't matter. Just another day of the year, buddy.
Yeah, but we can make it special. Maybe next week I ought to do a day in the life of Mark Zorn.
Yeah, whatever.
I'm telling you, it fascinates many people. I'm going to be honest with you, buddy. There's a story there or two. You've done some things.
My buddy sent me that deal. Like, I do all my own stunts, never deliberately.
Yeah, I did one right out here in the backyard.
That's me. That's you.
Brenda.
I never do it intentionally, but it happens.
Oh, and John, you and John share birthdays. I forgot about that.
Holy buckets. Well, happy birthday, John.
I knew that at one time, and then I forgot about it. Diana wants to know what day your birthday is, and I'm not going to say because I get.
Well, John already said.
Did he?
Yeah, November 5.
Oh, I missed that. I thought it was 5, but I wasn't.
My uncle my uncle was born on the 7th or 8th, and he's like, yeah, I was born on election day. And I'm like, and so was I.
Depending on the calendar.
It just depends on what day of the week it is.
Well, that's this year. Your birthday's on election day this year, isn't it?
It is.
I'm writing this down again, so I make sure I put John's in my file.
I was supposed to be born 5 days later.
Well, nature has a way of changing that number.
And my mother, I'm sure, wished I had been born 5 days earlier because I was a big old huge baby. I guess 8'6" or 8'8" or something. And you know how she is. 4'11". I think she's down to 4'7".
Well, yeah, we're all shrinking, buddy. I hate to tell you.
But I was supposed to be born on the birthday, and wasn't. So Been a
Okay,
disappointment ever since.
Brenda, I think that came out wrong. Go back and read that again. Did your mother get to vote? Oh, vote. She probably means vote. His birthday, maybe you weren't born on election day, though, were you?
Me?
Yeah, I mean, you could have been. I mean, I know what you're saying, but the actual day you were born wasn't on election day, was it?
I don't know. I was supposed to be born on November 10th, the Marine Corps birthday.
I'm being AC all week for my birthday, fishing convention and some fun. Well, good for you, John. Except I don't know where AC is. Oh, Atlantic City. Oh, you're gonna get in trouble.
Fishing convention.
What? What's that? That's called a bass tournament down here.
I bet they're fishing for stripers.
I did too, Tina. I started voting early as soon as they opened it up. I never did want to wait. I always hated the thought of maybe getting hit by a truck the day before election day and not getting the vote. I would have died miserably.
Oh, I'll guarantee you, Brenda, that they've all voted already.
Well, let's talk for just a moment. Mark's
We
been.
ain't going to talk about that, though.
No. We're not
Oh,
going to
thank
talk
God.
No. I wouldn't do that here. But I wanted to talk about your trip just a little bit. Mark went back home to see his folks, and your mom was doing really well. I talked to her. She sounded really good, but your mom always sounds good. Hell,
She was running up and down. My wife was amazed. She was running up and down hills. I mean, straight up and down kind of hills. Like we were hunting hickory nuts. And
oh,
she and Shauna went by themselves one day. Well, the day we left, actually.
good morning, Kay.
And she was, instead of going up the like logging road up through the woods like would be the normal person deal, they decided to just cut up on the hill from the house.
They went straight up from the house.
And it's literally like this.
Yeah, that is a steep hill.
And mom, she's 83 years old, and she was like mountain goating up that hill. And she fell, but it was just because she tripped over some greenbriers or whatever,
They'll do that.
It was just normal falling. It wasn't like because I'm old I fell. It was just normal falling, and stepped over a log wrong or whatever, and just kept on going. And they went up there and found hickory nuts. And
you said there was lots of hickory nuts this year.
oh my God, I never seen a crop like it. It was a drought. They've had a bad drought all summer. And there were no black walnuts, zero. I didn't find one. And there's walnut trees all over that in the woods back there.
That is so strange. I
and 2 years ago, there were so many walnuts you couldn't hardly walk on the ground because you were walking on walnuts.
I know we got walnuts here because I've seen them this year, but
And then the acorns, just to translate the acorn to acorn, white oaks and red oaks and black oaks were just thick. And they haven't had hardly any moisture this year, and I figured it would have been a total mast failure, but that shows what I know about mast.
Well, it did. They didn't get bit by frost.
It was as heavy. Hickory nuts, all the hickory species, shagbarks and mocker nuts and pig nuts, and all those were just thick. And so we picked some, and I mashed them out on the stoop with a hammer and picked the meat out of them and brought a little bit home with us, but not one. Maybe one set of brownies. We'll get hickory nut brownies, but
man, that'd be good. I need to see if I got any hickory nuts on this hill.
I bet you do up there behind the house.
I haven't gone up there and really inspected my tree crop. Hey, Brenda, I might have just found the screws you were looking for. Did you see what John, before we go on further about the Ohio trip, did you see what John said?
The morning ocean was like a part of hundreds of boats. I'm losing my. Where is it?
He said, well, I got it posted on the screen, unless you can't see it. Hundreds of boats as far as you can see, everyone having
Oh,
captain.
30 to 60 pound range. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
That's good. That's
Big
nice.
old striped bass.
Cases in South Carolina, they don't have very many pecans. We lost 2 of our trees in the storm. So you're talking about your personal pecans.
Darn it.
That's a good thing to have, is a personal pecan tree.
Sorry, Kay.
You ever hear of a
You know, pecans are a hickory, don't you?
huh?
They're in that
Yeah,
whole family of hickory trees, and they're
right.
the
Well,
only hickory that's ever been domesticated.
right. And there was a project. Let me tell you about a project. Um, there was a project because I've eaten hickory nuts. Obviously have. They've got I like hickory nut. I like the flavor. But they're hard to get out, and there's just all kinds of reasons why you don't see them a lot, or why they're expensive if you can buy them. But anyway, back in the 50s, I think maybe 40s, after the war probably, TVA, in its effort to be involved in the tree improvement program, and as part of their mandate through the TVA Act to help agriculture down here and all that sort of thing, they did some playing around with tree genetics. And because hickory nuts and walnut or pecans are in the same family, somebody got the bright idea of what if we could grow a hickory nut that was thinner shelled like a pecan
That you could peel.
that you can peel. And so they crossbred, so to speak,
Yeah.
cross pollinated. Probably did it with scions and uh, grafting, but they mixed them together and created a tree called a hecan. That's what they called it, a hecan. And they actually are some growing up on the reservation, part of that tree farm area on north that I was involved in. And people used to go in there and pick them up off the ground, and which we allowed. I mean, you might, why not? But the idea was that maybe farmers could grow those, and maybe grow them up here probably, or further north. You don't see as many pecans up here.
No.
Anyway, it worked. I mean, they created a little bit more friendly pecan or a hickory nut. People actually, like I said, used to go in there and pick them as soon as they hit the ground. Or not pick them, but pick them up. And it was kind of interesting because you know how the outer case is round on most of them, but not hickory nuts. They don't have it. What? Well, they do have a burr around them.
No, they got a big old thick shell that's 4
Yeah,
parts.
but it's not like a. That's what I'm trying to say. But it's not like a walnut, for example. But the
No,
one
they don't have that like a walnut.
no, but these pecans had a different kind of case, and it was elongated,
Yeah.
like pecan should be. Well, this was sort of a combination of that hickory nut husk and that case for a pecan. They look a little different. You'd probably pick one up and say, "What is this?" Because it looks different, and you might not, or you might just think it's a hickory nut that grew funny. But anyway, they still have those up there, and
Well, you know how hickory nuts are. They've got that
right.
four parceled outer husk around the nut, which is hickory wood.
I
And
never.
if you ain't a squirrel, it's kind of hard to get into it.
Oh, yes, it
And it
is.
doesn't have a seam like a walnut, so you can't just hit it with a hammer and it busts open into 2 halves. it's really not got a seam. You got to break the darn thing. And you basically end up with, in my experience, every now and again you find a good one that you can get a big old chunk out of there. But mostly you're just picking little bits and dust. But it tastes good enough that you want to do that. So
here's what a pecan curry. I should have got a hickory nut too. Hickory nuts are more rounded usually, and they have a thicker, tougher coat than this. So that was the whole thing. They were trying to take the good
parts of a pecan and run it with a hickory nut.
And it was successful in the sense that the trees they did it on and worked on worked.
Are they reproducing?
Are the nuts fertile? I don't know.
I mean, are they like self-perpetuating, or are they?
I don't know. That's a good question. I don't know if the nuts stay on the ground, but that's a good question. I don't know about the answer to that. They might not. I mean, that is a good point.
I mean, I could see a squirrel getting in there and saying, "This is the greatest hickory nuts ever."
That could be why. I mean, that may be why they didn't take off. Let's see where I'm at here. Let me catch up on chat real quick. I'm waiting on the insurance company so I can get my garage fixed. Oh no, okay. I didn't realize it hit your garage. And Diana says insurance claims take forever, but at least it's just the garage and not the house. That's a good point. Especially when you have a big storms and disasters down here. I know some people that have been involved in tornadoes and had to claim, and some of them had to really fight to get their claims. Insurance companies, there's a reason why they've always.
They like to take your money, but they don't like to dole it back out when you actually need them.
As a guy I worked with one time said, that's why insurance companies got the biggest, tallest buildings in town. And he was pretty much right.
Them and pharmacy companies.
Yeah, pharmaceutical companies.
There's like government sponsored like thievery that they're protected.
They are. A friend of mine had his house destroyed a few years ago when I was still at work, and it took him forever to get a claim for them to come out so he could repair and rebuild. And they tried to get out of it altogether. And that was.
Oh, I'm sure. And he probably paid them for 30 years.
Well, yeah. And it was either Farmers or State Farm. I can't remember which, but they had a big streak of that tornadoes that came up through that valley. He lives between here and Chattanooga. And they got a real bad name in that because they tried not to pay for a lot of stuff. And it was bad because not that particular tornado.
Hopefully they went under then.
I still see him advertising. His sister got killed in a tornado that came up through that same area a few years before that. So they were kind of prickly about that whole deal anyway. And anyway, back to the Ohio trip for a minute. Back to your mom climbing those hills. Mark's mom is like many of us elder folk, got arthritis, and I think she's got does she have rheumatoid?
She's got rheumatoid arthritis in her hands and her arms and her shoulders.
And the last time we talked about this, well, it's been a year or so ago, her hands were really giving her a hard time.
Yeah, they're like crippled up
but you said she's using them better now,
she seems to be, but it didn't help. It didn't hurt her legs at all. She's like up and down them hills.
Yeah.
We went walking one day and she was right there and I kept saying, well, Mom, oh darn Mom, I forgot there was a hill here. And she's like, well, that doesn't make any difference. And up she'd go,
Well, good for her. I talked to her, man. She sounded really. She, like I said, Mark's mom is a 4 foot.
She was 4 foot when I was a boy. She was 4'10" and a half,
Yeah.
and she always claimed a half.
Yeah, of course.
And now they just like she had a doctor's appointment here recently, and now she's 4'7". So she's a little bitty. She's a hobbit.
Yeah. Okay, Tina. I saw this now. I got to see who are you talking about? Was that a crack at Tim and Mark? Oh, at Tim Mark. You mean he made a crack at me? Well, probably, but we do that, and I might have missed it.
Who cracked at who?
I don't know which comment she meant. It could have been. I mean, he's been known, but it's like a brother thing, You just
we can't crack at each other. Who the heck can?
That's right. Exactly.
Who laughed the loudest about the Yellow Jackets, huh?
Who keeps remembering it? Who keeps bringing it up?
It was like I would have paid all the money in the world to have seen a video of you rolling down that hill trying to put the Yellow Jackets out.
Like fire, I was swatting hard.
I've got a visual in my mind. I can't get rid of it.
What? See, now you got me laughing about it.
Well, that's the point.
No, he was just talking about his mom. I mean, I don't think he was talking about it cracking me on that one. It would apply because I damn sure his mom can climb a hill better than me right now. I promise you. All right, John. Thanks for stopping in, buddy. Happy birthday. Hope you have a great trip to Atlantic City. And don't lose all your savings. And if you get to go fishing,
catch some fish, darn it. Catch some fish.
Pictures, yeah. That's probably that's probably why his wrist got all broke up. Yeah, it could have been swatting at the bees. That's possible. Well, actually, Tina. Actually, that's why I couldn't swat the bees well, because see, I was laying there at some point in other days and thought I was paralyzed. I couldn't move. But I looked and I could see these these Yellow Jackets flying around and stinging my arm and getting stuck in my flesh because they couldn't release their stingers. It was too cool. And I was trying to swat at them with both hands, and the left hand I couldn't make it hit anything. And I'm pretty sure now that's because it was broken. So I think that was already broken. And the right arm, which doesn't work well, I couldn't get it to reach up either. I was just, I mean, it's kind of funny and it's not. Well, but we'll laugh about it.
And Carol, I know he's not allergic. I've been with him when we've been stung. So, I mean, just that little bit was just like that was like a bonus.
Yeah, I mean, it's like.
I mean, who the heck else would it happen to?
Well, you got a point there.
It's just like, okay, I just wrecked myself. I busted my face. I broke my wrist. My legs all messed up.
My lawnmower.
And I landed in a pile of Yellow Jackets.
I mean, that's like the icing on the cake. Absolutely.
If the mower had been running and it was like spinning a blade by your head, that would have been even better. But
thank goodness. And I have to say, I know there's people that cut these things off and disable them. It has a safety switch in the seat. If you come off the seat, it shuts down.
Just immediately.
And I didn't know that one at the time. But the guy that brought it home the other day was telling Brenda that the seat pops up.
So if that thing flips forward, it's just off.
Yeah, and that's what it did. So that's why it didn't, mow right on down over me. I'm pretty sure.
That's good.
Tina says, now you laugh. I bet you weren't. Oh, Brenda's already. Tina, let me tell you what my wife said. We were watching something on TV the other day, and it was like a funny home video thing. Probably we were watching on the internet, and I don't even remember what it was. But the first thing my wife thought of was, "Dang, I wish I'd been out there to video you. We could have posted it so everybody see."
You
I mean, that's what she thought
could
about
have
it.
made $1 million.
She was trying to figure out a way to make money off of me, or at least let everybody laugh at me. That's how compassionate she is.
Well, I sent you that Halloween deal with the skeletons.
Yes. Yeah. My friend have what was the line from El Dorado and right towards the end, and they're giving what's his name, James Caan's character. They're giving him a hard time about something, and he says, "World of friends, I have a world of friends." And he walked out, and that's how this works. I've got a world of friends, but I got some good ones. Yeah, Tina says you're talking big money. I've watched occasionally home videos, the funniest home videos, and one of the reasons I don't watch it, and you guys can argue the point why not, but I mean, I have one sympathy for the people that are doing this, because I know they're getting hurt. And I know they're getting hurt because I've been there, done that in some cases. And I've been there and seen somebody else do it in cases. But everybody's laughing at them, and they're paying money for it. So yeah, I would like to think she would have made some money, because this was a good one. I mean, this was like Johnny Knoxville in his prime, as I say. And if I'd had one, it'd have been watch this, hold my beer. But it wasn't intended to be.
You do all your own stunts, never intentionally.
Yes, nobody was here to get on and take my place. Here, jump this off this ramp and see what happens. Well, you could die. Well, go ahead and do it anyway.
Onto a slope.
Onto a slope.
Well, when I called you after I'd heard, and you're like, I called Brenda and said, I'm hurt. And she just thought it was a joke.
Well, she laughed a little. Yeah, she laughed. And then I said, I'm not kidding. I actually think I said more different words.
I really am hurt. Get your butt out here.
Up here. And she got up here just in time to see me fighting off the bees and rolling down the hill.
That's the part that gets me every time. If you'd have just laid there and fought the bees, it wouldn't have been near as good as the rolling down the hill part.
I threw my body down the hill. I mean, I literally had to somehow get my body in position.
I gotta escape this area.
I gotta get away from these. They were eating me up. And and they give you your money, Kay. Yeah, Kay, I hope so. I hope I'm not talking. I hope I didn't spoil anything by saying the insurance companies are a pain. Maybe yours won't be. But right now, it's probably a hell of a time to be trying to do anything with them, since they've got so much going on. I mean, I can't imagine what they're. Well, I'm going to back up a minute. Problem with the mountains and the area that got washed, a lot of the areas that got washed away, the mountain folk. Now, newer houses and stuff, yeah, but some of those folk that got their trailers washed away, or their cabins, or what some people might even call a shack. And those people probably don't even have insurance.
They don't have insurance
because they can't afford it, and so they're screwed. And
all those big old homes along the Chucky and all that have been standing there for 150 years. They're gone. They're
gone. Yep.
I bet they didn't. I bet there wasn't a stick of insurance on any of that stuff.
Much less. I mean, I don't know if they even can get flood insurance in those places. Some places they won't sell it.
Well, and I mean, a lot of the loss happened above the flood zone.
Yeah.
Anybody that builds in a floodplain is nuts anyway. And probably, at some level, the people that build along the fields along the Ohio River, for instance, when the locals are telling you, like, we live up here in the woods, up on the hill for a reason, because I've seen that river, fill that floodplain.
Yeah.
If you build a house down there, it's kind of your own deal, in my opinion. But unless you build it on stilts, but the river is big and rough and it can handle it. So anyway.
Yeah, and there's some I hate to use the word great, but there's a couple of guys up here that are walking the mountains, walking the creek beds now and showing some of that damage. And it is just the change in the topography from these floods, they've eroded whole valleys in a way.
Yeah.
And some of these nice houses, which were up on the hills, didn't really get hit by the water. They got hit by the damage from all the ground being washed away below. And
Right. So it fell away and then they're slipping off the side of the hill.
yeah, so some of that, they were well out of the floodplain, so to speak, but they were up above it. And so that didn't even help there. It was, and if you see somebody looking at it that's got a little geography sense or that's not the word I'm looking for, but flood hydrology, they can kind of explain a little bit what the water was doing. You can see how much it really damaged. It really did. I mean, it's cases. I worry about my little stuff, but compared to some, I have nothing to complain about. We do sometimes get wrapped up in and everybody does, and there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, you do think about yourself first in those cases, but in this case, it's but you do think about the other people, and in a case like this, it's still pretty overwhelming. I wish I could think of that guy's name that's walking the creek beds right now. Um, you and I both have seen his videos. He's stepped off. I'll see if I can't find him. But I mean, it's in fact, if I can find it, I'd like to show it. I don't even know if I can get back to that here. I may have to. If I cut you off, guys, I'll be right back. I don't think I will, but I'm trying to get back to my home screen. I didn't mean to cut her off. What is his name? Anyway, are you live? Your mic's off. You're muted.
Yeah, I got stuff going on, so.
Oh, okay. You need to step away?
Just for a minute, maybe.
Go ahead and I'll wait on you. I'm looking for something anyway. I'm trying to find that guy's name. He seems to know what he's talking about. Plus, he's talking to other people that are in the area that are hydrologists. And dang it. And of course, when I try to type up that, all gets news stories on here. I'm not getting the ones I want. Brenda, do you remember his name? Dang it. He's really done a good job of going up and explaining some things and showing some of the where the damage started. He's walking up to the head of the watersheds, and some of these little watersheds being a holler where the creeks run down and starts at the head, some up at the top. The head of a holler is the top, highest. The mouth of the holler is the bottom. And in these cases, most of them are creeks that end up in the river, either the French Broad, the Nolichucky, or the Pigeon River. And he's been walking up in them, and I can't find him. Dang it! If you really are interested in seeing some of that, if I can find him, I'll put him in here, but I may not be able to find him. Oh, I think I found him. I hear dogs.
You do.
Okay, his name is Mark, Huneycutt. Honeycutt. But not spelled, like honey. Spelled like a U, like an Appalachian might do. But he's the one I'm pretty sure I'm thinking about that's doing all these walks. And I just found one where he's flying in over the area on a motorized parachute, parawing, so he can get up at the top of the hollers. Looks like. So that's interesting. Pretty sure this is him. Let me double check my. Yeah, this is him. But anyway, look him up. He's good, and he's not. He's not just being some kind of spread the fear kind of thing. He's actually doing the. Looks like his wife may fly too. That's cool. Anyway, check him out. So anyway, we talked about your mom a little bit, and your dad. He's doing okay. You said he's a little shorter. He's lost a couple inches.
Yeah, but I mean they're both 83, so you're allowed to do that.
You are allowed to do that.
They're I'd say they're getting along, both of them, pretty darn good. Dad, he's still nuts.
Oh, I'm gonna tell you something, buddy. I don't think that'll change till the day he dies. So he'll take that with him.
He's still crazy, but yeah.
He'll take that to the grave.
Mom's the sane one, Dad's the crazy one, and yeah, he's still walking across and feeding horses, and wouldn't let me, like, no, that's what I do. That's his exercise, I guess. But or as my wife's grandmother would have said, exercise.
Exercise. But is he getting in the shop any?
No, a little bit. They're trying, the boys are still showing up and
well, that's what I wonder.
Working 3 or 4 hours a day, max. But they're all old too. So
Tina had another comment. She said, "You said they were that was allowed at 83." She said, "I'm reasonably sure none of us make the choice." Well, no, we don't. But and it was, but yeah, how did I say that? You don't say it's allowed; it's expected, I guess. Unless you happen to be a vampire or one of those guys that does time travel, or what was the other guy that lived forever? Highlander, somebody like that.
Well, unless they chop your head off, and then you don't get to live forever.
Well, then you don't. Yeah, but anything else they do to you, you just heal right back up.
Just like no big deal.
Yeah, I mean, like if you fly off your lawnmower into the grass and get stung by yellow jackets, you'd probably just hop right up like nothing.
Just no big deal.
No big deal. Well, I tell you what else I'm going to say this too. I probably have mentioned it, but I've got to deal with what I'm going to refer to as rural medical care for the first time in a long time.
Welcome to the bigs.
And it sucks. I'm telling you, they just did not do things. I'm just really disappointed in that. My brother works for that hospital outfit. I really would like to ask him about that, but I've hesitated. He did make some comments about it, but it's his living. I don't begrudge him that. And the company he worked for was a good one until they got bought out. So,
well, my son was in a meeting the other day with, I don't know, some energy developing company of some form, who knows who, in his professional life as a game and fish guy. And they're like, well, what could your community use? You know, do you need a roping arena? Do you need a ball diamond? Do you need a baseball, whatever? Do you need a new football field for the school? And he's like, I got a good idea. Why don't you get us a good doctor?
yeah, that would be a good idea.
And sign his life away like, okay, you got to stay here for 20 years or whatever.
That would be a good idea. I mean,
you live in rural America, you might not make it to the place you need to go to do your health care stuff. It's too far away.
I'm going to share another screen and we'll talk about it in a minute, but I'm not. No, I'm not yet. I don't want to wait. Yeah, I mean, it took me 2 weeks to get them to send my reports to the doctors that I needed to go see. And when I was laying there on their stretcher, and I had a neck brace on, and all these, they were, had put what they called a brace splint on this hand.
And the gal was pulling on your arm?
And I was pulling on my wrist, trying to move me on the table, and I was trying to beg her not to do that. They said, you're probably going to need to see a orthopedic surgeon. And I said, okay, you guys got to recommend, are you guys going to send that referral in? Because, you can't go see one without a referral, not in this part of the world anyway. And I've got a couple, unfortunately, I have a couple orthopedic surgeons I've used over the years, if that tells you anything. But, I pretty much figured they would want to send me somewhere. I thought they'd probably send me to one of their places, which I wasn't too keen on, but they didn't do anything. No, they said, no, you'll have to do that. And I'm like, well, I can't do that. I mean, not just up and say, I need to, I've been recommended I send, they'll just laugh at you and say, well, a doctor needs to send that in to make it official, which I knew. So we had to call my doctor. We got home and did that, and got the guy I'm seeing now, Mr. Superman, and which don't go away if you don't have to hurry at the end of the show. I have a question for you.
Who?
About him, but I don't want to bring it up at the moment.
About him who?
The doctor, or something he said. I just want to bring it up. I want to ask you about it. But anyway, if you've ever heard of it, it's a history thing. Anyway, he couldn't, I don't even know if he got the x-rays to see my hand before I walked in there that day. And that was held over 2 weeks after. I mean, it was going on 2 weeks.
That's nuts.
Or a week and a half after it happened, which is absolutely ridiculous in this day and time.
They should have been able to just shoot him a PDF file or something.
Exactly. So anyway, we did x-rays, and I don't know if I said this or not, but we did x-rays the first day I got to see him, but we didn't talk about it too much. He didn't give me a lot of details that day. He kind of bandaged me up and gave me some stuff, told me what to do, and come back to see him in a week, which is what we did. So I got back there the other day, and we did X-rays again, but this time they also X-rayed my shoulder, which I'd asked them about before, and so now we know a little bit more about what's going on in my shoulder. But it's ranking number 2 at the moment. But he said I shattered one bone in this wrist, pieces, and on the other side of my wrist I cracked it in 2 or whatever. So that's what's going on over here. And I said, so what does that mean? What do we got to do? And he said, well, we got 2 choices. We can do pins and plates, screws and plates. I don't know which one he said, and do surgery and do all that. Put pins in it, plates in it, or we can leave that cast on it for another week or so. And if you behave yourself, because right now he said it looks like everything is staying in place, you're not overusing it. Because if I start pulling on it, crap, everything's going to move. And he said if they stay like they are right now and can start healing, we won't have to do surgery. But I may be wearing this for a while. And of course, I just thought, I'm 67 going on 68. How much healing do bones do? But anyway, Carol is leaving us. I'm running the city off my daughter to vote now. I'll pop back on afterwards. You do that, Carol. Be safe going. Don't get hit by a truck. And Tina said the sad fact is people need
remember to vote and vote often.
Yeah. You need to eat and have a roof over your head. Sometimes principals have to wait. I'm not sure which part you mean there, but that's a true statement. I won't argue that. So the point here is behave yourself.
Exactly. The moral of the story is
don't get hurt.
Don't do that.
Don't do that. Don't do that, as Archie Campbell used to say.
We always slapped you in the head first.
Not true. Carol, I hope you make it back. I mean, that didn't sound right. I hope you can get back on when you get home. How about that? I think early voting.
Tina was referring to Tommy.
Oh, yes. Yes. I agree. And my nose is itching now. Does that mean I'm telling a lie? Yeah, he worked at that hospital for a long time.
I hope Michigan stomps the Ducks into a mud puddle.
I kind of do too. They've
like you were over limit and you had to put one down in the mud when the game warden showed up.
Put one down in the mud. One over the limit.
Which I have seen more than once in my lifetime. Oh shoot, we shot too many canvasbacks.
Oops.
Whoops. Oh.
Which is on that? No, that's not a canvasback. Those are redheads. Sorry.
If you can avoid surgery, I would do that like the plague, buddy.
Well, that's what I told Brenda. He walked out.
Don't do that. Just leave that. Let that thing heal up on its own if it will.
Well, Brenda's slapping me pretty regular to not make sure I don't use it when I've used it for 67 plus years. It's hard to break a habit. You know? I don't use. Fortunately, it's not my major.
It's your offhand.
So. My offhand, so it's not so bad. But still, I reach for things with it because it's just a habit. And then when this one is not wanting to reach correctly, and that's about all I can get, it makes me want to do it with this hand. So. When are you laughing about, kid?
I'm just laughing at.
Kiss a fool, but we don't want you making Brenda mad. No, I'm trying not to. Although I think she's been ready to kill me a couple of times. or wishes the Yellow Jackets had eat me. Brenda says, every time I seem to do anything with that left hand, I say no, no. She says more than no, no. I'm going to tell you.
No.
It's a very strong no, no.
What was that guy that one of those comedians, and I say nay, nay. John Pinot. I think that's his name.
John Pinot.
Yeah, Pinot, I think. I say nay, nay. They're like, well, you need to run 5 miles today, and I say nay, nay.
Yeah. Well, anyway, now go ahead.
I ain't gone yet.
The oh, wait a minute, who passed away? Oh, that comedian's passed away, Tina said. So Mark got home. I'll tell a little bit more of that story. So Mark came home, headed home Tuesday, and they got into Salt Lake City, which is where their flight lands from Cincinnati or Covington or wherever he said in Kentucky. I mean, it's Cincinnati's airport. Or
Hebron.
Well, yeah, Hebron. And basically, did you guys end up spending the night in Salt Lake City, didn't you?
Yeah, because our neighbors all said, don't come home. It's snowing like an SOB and the roads are awful and don't come home tonight because it was late.
Yeah.
They're like, just crash down there in Salt Lake City for a while and come home in the morning, which thank God we did.
Were you in the Subaru?
It was pretty bad.
Were you guys driving the Subaru?
Yeah.
So you had a good car at least to be driving.
Yeah, but I mean, we come up over the top. So Salt Lake was supposed to get a bunch too in Park City and all that Utah country, which is a lot lower elevation than us. And it did not. It was bone dry all the way to Evanston, Wyoming, where you cross the border. And from there to the highway that we turn off of the interstate to go north up to our place was a disaster. It was black ice and semi trucks were driving like it was the 4th of July. I mean, they were driving like 70 plus miles an hour. They should have been going 5. And
they're professionals, you know.
Yeah, but they're good professionals out of LA. They never seen snow in their life or ice. And I white knuckled it through that stretch. It was as bad as I've seen it, slick wise. What
highway? What road is that? 30?
Hey. What's that?
What road were you on? What highway?
I-80.
I-80. Okay, that's the one that gets so bad anyway, all over out there.
But it was. Every bridge was just a solid block of ice, about 2 inches thick ice, frozen slush. Oh, hang on just a second. I can't even hear myself think.
Okay. I gotta write a name down while I'm thinking about it. And try not to forget it here when I stop the show. So another thing my wife likes to do, we'll just, I'll pick on Brenda a little bit. And she likes to make fun of my arms not working. So she was calling me T-Rex man because, little bitty arms can't reach out. And then she started calling me Spider hand, because the way I get to things is I use my fingers and I try to climb up. See, I can't even hardly do that to get up here. And if I can grab onto something, I can pull myself up. My arm works. It's just that my shoulder won't allow me to get up, and I can't throw stuff. I can't toss something to the side with my hand. I couldn't wield a tomahawk or a hat, or, a spear or a knife with my hand. So it's good thing we're at peace right now and nobody's raiding the valley. And so, so she's taking full advantage, even though she's having to wait on me a lot, which she pointed out to me numerous times lately. Kind of like, who's taking care of you, don't you? I could go stay with my mom, and that's a joke. Or I could go stay with my daughters, which could happen. But she's not. She's taking care of me. I can't lie about that. She's been pretty good to me. In fact, she's probably been way better to me than I deserve. I've been pretty hateful at times. I don't mean to be. I'm just in a lot of pain. And I get frustrated because I can't reach something. I can't do it on my own. And I never like to ask for help. So I'm having to learn to do that more often. But I feel like that works her harder, and that makes me feel bad. I'm going to have a lot of making up to do when this is said and done. So don't bite the hand that feeds you. Yeah, Tina, that's a very good expression in this case. It really, it does. Pain is hard. Pain sucks, Diana. And I've lived it. I've said this before, and I'm not really moaning about it. I'm not asking for a handout or anything, but I've lived in pain for a long time now because of my back. And for the most part of that, had little or no chemical help, if you will, to knock that pain down. Just fistful of Tylenol every day. And used to be the other brand, Advil, and then I had to quit taking that, so I take Tylenol. Depending on if they do give me a pain reliever for a few days, I may not even be able to take Tylenol. So anyway, you grow to live with it, but even living with it is not easy. Even when you feel like you're doing a good job, or you don't feel like you're doing anything wrong, you are, and you're not. You don't treat people well, and excuse me, I can't get my throat cleared. And but then it gets worse. Then you drive a lawnmower off a ramp at your house, and you break your wrist, and you screw up your elbow, and you half your face. And I really got lucky with that part. That healed faster than anything, and I thought that was going to be the worst part of it. Little did I know. And my thighs looks terrible still. I mean, but it's getting better. And yes, Brenda has literally been feeding me at times because I can't get my hands up to my mouth. It'd be embarrassing for people to see me having to lean down, practically put my face in the plate to reach it. So I've been a little more hateful because the pain has increased to a next level above what it used to be. Which, you learn, like I said, you learn to adjust some of it to some of it. And people who don't have to live with that every day don't usually understand why people talk about it, or why oh God, how to say this? People who aren't going through chronic pain don't always understand why people who are need some kind of help, some kind of relief. And I'm not talking about over prescribing pain pills. And I know pain pills and things like that have bad side effects. But if they make your life, even 50% better, I'll take them every day. Whoa, Mike's leaving. Got to take his Walter for a walkie poo. You too, Mike. I'd like to talk to you later, buddy, if you've got a few minutes. We'll have to see if we can't get together on a phone call. Diana, help us both to remember that. If you've got time, I know you're busy, but if you got time later this afternoon, maybe we can talk just for a few minutes. But be careful, be safe out there. Don't let Walter run over you. Mikey and Walter are getting really close, guys. I don't know if you know that. You know, Walter is, you know, yes, Mike, Walter is Diana's dog, but I think Walter is in love with Mikey. he seems to cling to Mike a little bit now. So anyway, so that's when, you know, they changed all the laws because of all the abuse of hydrocodone and everything. It really screwed other people up. Okay, Diane, thank you. I take it you're leaving too. I'll try to make sure I send me a note or something first so I can try to, you know, make sure I hear you and we get together. Or send me a note on my telephone. I think you guys have my phone number. Mike is Walter's boyfriend. Well, you know, this channel is pretty liberal in many ways. And so we don't oppose that relationship, Diana, just so Mike knows that, you know, nobody here is gonna begrudge him that relationship. Oh, I love it. I don't even know what time it is. My clock's still broke, but I got the parts to fix it. I'm doing pretty good. I might make it till noon. I got the parts to fix my clock, but guess what? I'm busted, so I can't get out of here to do that, or get up there to do that. Anybody in here ever watched a TV show out of England? We watch a lot of Brit TV lately, it seems. Well, we've seen this for quite a while, but I've been watching it again and getting some new shows. But it's called The Repair Shop. Has anybody seen that show? I love to watch that show. I don't know why, but I just love to watch those guys do their work. And some of them are just amazing craftsmen and craftswomen, craftspeople, whatever you want to call it. And they've got a lady that does saddlery. That was her career. And I'm thinking she may be retired officially from that. So she does this kind of stuff. And she can work leather. She can work amazing wonders with leather. You got another guy that's a clockmaker. Actually, it's her brother. And their father was a clockmaker and or repair guy. I think they still call them clockmakers. Anyway, he does a lot of repairs on clocks and things. I was watching him fix a grandfather clock, and it makes me want to, you know, climb up there and do more work on my clock. But I got the part. It's called a suspension strap, I think. And it's laying here somewhere. I'll have to find it now. But it's in a pack, so I didn't lose it. I got to put that back in, and that's what holds the pendulum swinging back and forth. And I guess it's so it won't. I don't know why it's not solid, but it's not. I mean, like a pin, just a rod or something. But it's got this piece of really thin metal right in the middle that gives it more flex. And let's see here. Diana's still here. Nope, the only Brit show I've watched much is Miss Brown's Boys. That's a great show, Tina. Brenda and I've watched all of those. I wish they'd do some more of them. And if anybody knows if they have, we got to find them, because I don't think I've ever laughed. I haven't laughed that hard in years. When we first started watching that, It was it was great. Check out the repair shop. I don't even know if anybody's carrying it right now, on TV. We may have seen it here on PBS or something first, but look it up online, and they've got series and seasons. They've been on for a few years now, and just watch some of the shows. I bet you and Chuck would enjoy them. They rebuild childhood toys from 1910 for somebody that's trying to pass it on to their family. Yesterday I watched them, and I actually saw this one of the first shows I ever watched years ago, but they ran. It happened to be in a group I was watching. A lady brought in a piece of leather that had a mirror in it, mounted on it, and it was made by her great grandfather during World War I. He was he was a soldier in the trenches. I don't remember what his rank was, and I guess in some ways you could call this trench art. But he took some discarded pieces of harness leather. Horses were still a big factor in cavalry, and in World War I, they still hadn't figured out that machine guns play hell with horses. But anyway, he had made this out of leather and put a mirror in it. They found a piece of mirror somewhere, not broken. So he mounted that on this piece of leather, and they hung it in their trench area. And all the guys that he was over there with used it every day to shave with, or whenever they shaved, they used it. And then he brought it home with him, and he used it to shave. I'm sure it took him back to his comrade with the guys. And he used it to shave right up to the day he died. And by that time, there was only a piece of the mirror about this big around that was still usable. All the backing had come off. I think it was a leaded mirror. They don't do them that way anymore. And it was cracked. It had a corner cracked on it. And they brought it to Susie, and Susie refurbished that leather, cleaned it, and then gave it life by putting moisture oil in it, which leather needs oil. Mark gets on me about that. You got to feed that leather, and cleaning it usually is bad if you don't oil it afterwards. But anyway, we can talk about that another day. But and they got the mirror recoated, and they left the crack in it because the crack was important to her great grandfather, and her father, who used it also. And she gave it back to the lady that brought it in. She wanted to pass it down to her family. She wanted to hang it in her kitchen, pride of place, as they say over there, and let people talk about it. Because she said every time somebody asks you about something like that, then it gives you a chance to talk about your great great grandfather, and he lives on, if you will. Stories get told, and that's a really good point. I think that's very true. I think that's how we keep our ancestors alive with us. And I'm not good. I mean, I wish I could do that better. I need to feed some stories into some of the stuff I have, so the girls will, maybe hang on to it. But anyway, check out the repair shop. Have you watched that, Mark?
I haven't.
You need to watch that some. I mean, you might want to pick through the shows, but the lady that does the leather work on there,
yeah,
you would really like and appreciate her.
She knows that if you suck its soul out with soap, you got to add the oil back.
Yes, and she talks about that all the time. She said, "Oh, they got to clean this, and they haven't oiled it." She said they probably cleaned it, never oiled. I mean, she talks about that.
Yeah, I do deal with saddles all the time that are all cracked and broken open, and they've had a hard time, and I'm like, well, what do you do to this? And well, when I get done using it, I get the saddle soap out and I clean it up real good, and then I put it away. And I'm like, and do you put some neatsfoot oil back into it? Some kind of oil, emulsified oil. I don't care if you use an egg yolk. If you let that like keep drying out and drying out and drying out, that's what cracks leather.
Just like soap does your skin. Think about that. I
Yeah,
mean, if you just use soap and wash all the time, it's hard on your skin in its own way, and
yeah.
it dries it out. So people use lotion.
You
Same kind
gotta
of deal.
you gotta put some oil back in and it. And
The-
I don't mean motor oil, but like, and
some kind of
I
vegetable
am
oil.
saying that correctly for those people that say oil. It's just oil.
Just oil. Another cool thing about that, when she was cleaning that up for to get it, as she had to do a lot of cleaning first, and then she oiled it and did all that. But as she cleaned the layers of bathrooms sprays and soap scope getting off somebody's face while they were shaving, she started to get the smell. She said, "I can smell soot and wood smoke on this," and it was from the trenches. I mean, it was literally it was a memory from the trenches where because they cooked over open fires and stuff, and sometimes
Yeah,
they stood around open fires to stay warm, and that was those scents were soaked into that leather, and as she cleaned those layers away of dirt, you could smell that, and I thought, God, what a way to tell that. But I mean, I get that because scents are very powerful when it comes to memory, and maybe the most powerful, maybe more than sight. And but I thought that was really cool, and I mean, she's really good at her job. You guys ought to check it out. I mean, if you ever want to watch something that's not made from here, that would be one to watch because it is really good. Oh
and
well,
what's the official name of it again?
the repair shop.
The repair shop.
Look it up on YouTube, and it'll pop up. And they've got individual shows lined up, but they've also got box sets, as they
Yeah,
call them, for a whole season, like 20 shows for a whole year, and you can just watch them one after another and stop wherever you want to.
right.
And the shows themselves without commercials are about. So I'm assuming in Britain they show commercials in it. They're about 45 minutes long, 40 to 45 minutes per show. And but the craftsmen they have on there are just, I envy those guys because the guy can rebuild a clock, or he can rebuild a wind up toy because it has clockwork. You got a guy that can take wood and just turn it into amazing furniture. Repair a piece of furniture made from the 1800s and put a new piece in it that was broken, and it looks just like it's been there, 120 years.
That's pretty cool.
They had a guy brought in the other day, but on one of the shows, a guy brought in an ostrich egg, which had been turned into, I guess, what you could call trench art, war art. He was a POW of the Brits. They didn't say where he was from, but he came to the commander of where he was staying. And I think he was actually helping them at that point with language. But he was a carpenter before he got drug into the war. And so the guy handed him an ostrich egg, and he said, "Here, go make something out of this." Because he was looking for something to keep himself busy. And which is probably one of the biggest things about POWs in wartime. They get very bored very fast, which makes them want to think about escaping and stuff like that. Anyway, so he took this egg away, and he came back sometime later, and he had made a cigarette holder, which wouldn't be important to a lot of us, and you lifted the ostrich egg up. It was hinged on a plaque, and you opened it up, and inside these like 4 or 5 layers of wooden shelves opened up, stair stepped, and they each one had like 10 cigarette slots in it. And
Huh.
you can put your cigarettes in there, which, like, most of them smoke. Hell, if I was in war, I'd probably smoke again. But anyway, you'd lift it up and they would open up. Well, somebody a few years before this had accidentally knocked that egg. World War One again had knocked that egg off. I think it was World War One, might have been World War Two. Anyway, had knocked it out of a cabinet accidentally and broken the egg.
Oh.
So, Humpty Dumpty's men couldn't put it back together again, but they'd saved all the pieces. And if you've ever seen an ostrich egg, hell, they're about that thick.
Yep.
Really tough, really hard. And so they brought this guy in who was actually a conservator. And one of his jobs, like in the Royal History Museum or whatever they call it over there, was rebuilding some of the things in the museum. And some of them were eggs, literally rebuilding birds' eggs that were on display. So he took this egg and he had to piece it back together. And piece by piece, he had to fit them all together until he got it back together and glued it back together and cleaned up all those seams. And they've got really cool ways of, kind of hiding the seams. And he brought that thing out after it was all, and it was perfect. It just looked, hell, it looked brand new. So, I mean, that's the kind of craftsman this show has on it. Highly recommend it. Read it. And now we'll move on to the next story. And I'm going to present something again for everybody to, again,
Stand by for news.
stand by for news. This is one of the other pages I wanted to recommend.
You some buck.
Yeah, take a moment there. You're just about to say something.
I didn't say it.
You're better than me. I turned Brenda, and Brenda probably turned me on to this first. And then I turned Mark onto it, and he's cussed me ever since. Because this guy, Paleo Chris, and his girlfriend,
and his buddy, Wild Kyle.
Well, I was going to pull Wild Kyle side up here in a second, too. They hunt for artifacts, some historical things, and mostly they do extinct animals, as in prehistoric, including megalodon sharks. Megalodon. Megalodon. And they're the kind of shark's teeth, they're big as your hand. And which Brenda is wanting me to take her to find somewhere. Well, I don't know what you were going to say, Mark. Well, yeah, but if we weren't on here, he would have called me that.
Which I never would have said.
No, never. But anyway, I think he called me back or sent me a note back, or we were talking after this. He said, "You son of a buck." He said, "I can't. That's all I've done is watch videos from this guy because they're amazing. The stuff they find is absolutely amazing. And most of it, damn it, I got to dry mouth, which this isn't helping." Most of it is in Florida, in creeks and small rivers that you never hear about or see in Florida. And they've found almost enough bones to build a whale, or at least the backbone of a whale. I'm talking ancient whale. They find prehistoric horse teeth, the kind that lived here before anybody came. Tapers. They find and lots of shark teeth. And I mean lots and lots of shark teeth. I saw a show the other day where Wild Kyle and his buddy and Chris found 1,000 shark teeth in one day in almost one spot. I mean, they literally scoop up a handful of rocks out of these creeks where they're going. And I have heard of this before. So I kind of knew they did. Anyway, they can just scoop up a handful of rocks and they might find 100 shark teeth in it. I mean, it's just that layer of time it's eroding out of the banks of those rivers that would, thousands or millions of years ago, depending on what they're finding. Because he found a stone point the other day that was just laying there, 3 or 4 feet underground, and it was whole inside. It's beautiful. And I told Mark, I said, that's so cool, because you have to think about it for a minute. No human has seen or touched that probably in a few thousand years. You knew about, what was that, 3 or 4 thousand years old?
Yeah,
At one point.
those points are 3,000 to 5,000 years.
Trying to get a little water in there so maybe I can talk better. Clear my sticky mouth. But I mean, they just find amazing things, and I feel like they do it in a good way, because they do work with some museums, and they do turn this stuff over when they find these really cool. I mean, shark's teeth and stuff, most people don't give a rat's butt about anyway, unless there's something really unique. But they do work with some other groups, and when they find something like a horse, if they found a whole horse, they do work with museums or somebody and get that stuff preserved and taken care of. But they found, I mean, for example, they found what they called a killer pig, and they've got a show. They got an old video about it. Let me see it. It just popped up. Hell pig. It's called a hell pig, and it's Arkansas. What is it? What group was it?
I know you were going to ask me that.
Arkansinian or something like that. It's a pig that you don't usually find down there, but you do sometimes.
And we had them up here too.
You had them up there.
We find fossils of them up here as well.
But Florida wasn't at that time, and they found this. Florida wasn't really known for these things. Right. I mean, it was a pretty big deal that they discovered quite a few of the bones in one place. So that was a big deal. And like he said, they found tapirs. They found a lot. They picked up enough. They literally went into a spot one day. I don't know if it was Kyle or if it was Chris. I need to pull Kyle's page up too. They pulled up enough bones in that one place. I mean, you would have thought they could have built the whole whale if they. I guarantee you that somewhere in that general area were the remains of at least one whole whale. I mean, it had to be there. They had to be there, and what hadn't washed out of the creeks.
Yeah, and a lot of them, like their vertebrae, have like shark bites in them.
Yeah, and that's really cool. I mean, when you find signs of predation, and that may not sound like a cool thing to everybody. But it shows the interaction of what was life when 10 million years ago, or around million. I don't get my years right on that because I forget. But it's so cool, and they do it. So they do it respectfully. Now sometimes they act like idiots when they find something really cool. They're like Mark and I discussed this. They're like two young boys running the creeks, and honestly, they do, and while I kind of like that in a way, it did, they can be idiots at times, but they do respect what they're finding, and they do take care of things, and
they always, if it's something really cool, it goes right to the museum, and they're expanding the knowledge base of those critters of those times.
Yeah,
which is cool.
Cool.
I mean, if you're just collecting stuff to make money, that's not what it's about. So
I don't know if this is going to affect any of us, but if you got, I just saw it pop up on.
What are you looking at, y'all?
Well, Ryan Hall.
Ryan Hall. He's saying bad stuff's getting ready to happen again.
Yeah, usually when he's on, this just came out 20 minutes ago, so this is current. He's talking about a lot of bad storms and tornadoes building up
those intelligents, those
go back up here.
Hell pigs, that you're talking about, we find they're not common, but they're relatively, you find them fairly frequently in the out here in the plains,
but not in Florida. They didn't think
not in Florida.
far. I think it was a big, and I think the girl standing in the picture, the lady, that's Bree. Her name's Bree, Bri. And I don't know, she seems to know quite a bit about this stuff too, but she takes a lot of these teeth and small bones and things that aren't that as important to science. She does art with them, and they sell some of this stuff. I mean, just like everybody else, they collect enough big megalodon teeth that people buy them from them. And Brenda wants to go find one. She doesn't want to buy one. She wants to go find one.
Yeah.
Which I get. Hell, I'd like to too.
Well, and I've talked about inviting these two characters out here to look for stuff as a trade.
As a trade-off, yeah.
Yeah, I want to go to Florida and hunt shark teeth,
and they also they've been to Michigan along the shores.
Well, he's from Wild Kyle's from Michigan.
Is that where I couldn't remember where he was from originally?
And that's all that kind of same formation that we always hunted in Indiana.
Indiana, right. Mark and I, my biggest exposure probably, which is not a huge deal. And we used to go, not really rendezvousing, but camping and doing the show at Friendship, Indiana, which was a national muzzleloading gathering. It was pretty big every year. And in this particular part of Indiana, there was a small creek ran through the campground, or the primitive campground, where the teepees and stuff were set up, which is where we were. And you literally couldn't. Mark bet me one time, he said, "I'll bet you cannot pick up a rock here unless it's imported," because there were places they dump gravel that does not have a fossil in it. And he was right. You couldn't pick up anything there that wasn't a small not crustacean, mollusk of some sort. And you could see them coming out, literally falling out of the bank.
Mollusks and corals and
corals and things like that. And that's kind of what these guys find. They find layers like one in Indiana, and the one Kyle probably the same area that Kyle was working, not the same area, but same layer that Kyle started out in. And anyway, they're amazing. They're just amazing.
Carol's back, and you're right, Carol. It is interesting.
Well, and they do. I was going to tell them, Carol, they do a lot of work. They've done some stuff along Lake Michigan, and that's where they take these rocks, like you see in this picture on the right. They'll cut those in two, and that's what's inside of them. After they take just a plain looking hunk of rock, and then there was one down here. I had these geodes down here. They find these little crystals formed inside that are just perfect and beautiful little crystals that were formed millions and millions of years ago when that layer of earth was created, literally. And they're so cool. And Brenda and I watched an episode the other day with Kyle, I think it was Kyle and Chris, where they were out in Florida, and they were on a dirt road, gravel road, we'd call it probably, in the road commission county or whatever was, dumping new rock on it. And they literally went in there and got pieces out of that. They were full of crystals if you knew where to look. And you could just walk along the road and pick them up. And if
they've done that with shark teeth too.
They have. And they found a shark tooth doing that show we were watching. But they were using UV light, black light type flashlights.
Yeah.
And they had to know, and it was a different wavelength of light. And they showed that if you hit these different crystals, they showed up in different ways. Really cool. and these things would effervesce, or no, that's not the right word. I don't think that's the right word. You could hit them with this particular type of light, and they would absorb that UV beam, and then when you turned everything off, they would glow, kind of like foxfire, I guess. And they didn't last, and these rocks were being charged by this light, so it didn't last too long. Anyway, I highly recommend it. And I just saw another one. I was gonna say these other guys are pretty good too. I don't know anything about this Dally MyMD, but he's got 13 million subscribers. So I'm thinking he's probably not doing the kind of thing I would like. And I don't know about this Treasured guy. He's not got a lot of subscribers, so that might be a guy to check out. Brenda found what?
So if you don't have a lot of subscribers, go look at that guy.
No, he don't have a lot, so he's probably doing more science than he is.
Yeah.
I don't know, doing something else that would cause you to have a lot of members. Usually there's something else going on there, in my opinion. Let's see, there's some guys called Yorkshire Fossils, and they're from Yorkshire, England, and they walk some of the areas of the chalk cliffs and things like that, and they dig up some amazing fossils there. And if you just saw that, do you guys see that, right? Guy breaking a rock. There, see what he picked up? They find these nodules that are formed by, I guess, lava when it cools real fast, and it forms inside these rocks. And if you break those open, there can be a nautilus type creature. What's it called, Mark? Species that they find of coiled or rolled out animals in a shell that were, cool stuff. Brenda can probably tell me if I'm looking at the writing if she's in there. I have an ex-coworker who likes to go megalodon teeth hunting. Okay, South Carolina has got some great places to look for megalodon teeth too. I think the Black River's in South Carolina.
Well, all the way from North Carolina all the way down through Georgia.
Yeah.
And into Florida is Meg country.
Yeah, they find some amazing things around
Shark. Find lots of dugong or manatee bone and lots of whales. I guess there were hundreds of species of smaller whales. Yeah. And those Megs were eating those whales. I mean, so you just like swim up. Some of those whales, they could literally almost swallow whole. And,
yeah, think about something the size of a dolphin today, which is actually a pretty good size animal. And these things, of course, just gulp them down because they were so big. Literally, they were huge. And I can't express huge big enough. But in Yorkshire, on the other side,
their teeth were this big, like that big. Every single one of their teeth, and they were sharks, and they had lots of them. And you think about that, it's like I'm pretty happy that I live today and not then.
I'm glad I didn't stick my foot in the ocean.
You wouldn't want to get in the water in those days. You wouldn't be snorkeling with the old megalodon.
The word I was trying to remember was ammonite.
Oh, ammonites.
Ammonites. And they have found those with teeth stuck in the back of those where they've been
predated.
Predated, yeah, that is the right word. It didn't sound right. It wasn't, in my mind, it wasn't coming out right.
Yeah, and ammonites were kind of a straight-shelled cephalopod, if you will.
But they've also found
octopus kind of critter.
Yeah.
Or squid, and the nautiloids were coiled.
One was long and one was round.
Right.
Round. basically. But these
Spiral.
guys have also found something cool. They found a whole skull of an ichthyosaurus
Oh, cool.
in these rocks. I mean, so that's another good show to watch. There's a one of their finds right there.
That was an ammonite right there.
Yeah, I wish they had.
Not an ammonite. That was a nautiloid.
I wish I had a better picture. But they called, see that one rolling right there down the middle of the screen? That's a real thing. And they either rolled that down or it fell off the cliff. They call them cannonballs sometimes. But the inside of those things, you may find a perfect nautiloid from 10 million years ago or whenever they lived. And it falls out of these limestone cliffs over here. So I recommend them too. That's Yorkshire Fossils. There was another one. Let me see. I saw him pop up a minute ago, actually, at the bottom of somebody's list. These guys may not have him.
Well, that digging science guy is good.
Yeah, digging science. Let me put him up there. Digging science. I recommend this guy. He does some amazing things too. And these guys all look at that big old tooth right there, isn't that? I mean, that's amazing.
That's a mastodon.
Mastodon tooth.
Which was a browsing elephant.
Yes. Yeah.
They didn't graze like mammoths, they browsed. And ain't that cool? You got one group of elephants that focuses on grazing grasses, and you got a whole nother group of elephants that focuses on browsing woodlands.
Anyway, this guy is also,
that's why they figured honey locusts and Osage orange and trees like that, why they formed their big old nasty spikes. The big thorns they have on them was specifically to deal with with mastodons, to prevent herbivory, because it's a constant battle.
This guy, I like this guy, but I don't watch him all the time, and he might get a little boring. I'm trying to go to his page. It's called Below the Plains, and he digs up latrines, bathrooms a lot, because you'd be amazed. Everybody used to use their outdoor toilets, as the trash pit. A lot of places, especially if you go to like a tavern or a pub or an old roadhouse, and you can find these on maps a lot of times if you're in a town. But he goes to places in the prairie country, and he digs up stuff, and he finds a lot of bottles, which Mark used to collect a lot of old bottles. When I first met you, that was one of your things you were doing as a yonker. But he does a lot of that. I would recommend him too. Brenda says it gets boring after a while, and I guess he does, because it's mostly glass. But he digs up some really cool things, and of course, it's not really in the latrine anymore. It's all decomposed and turned into dirt and mixed in with other dirt. And
I have hundreds of bottles here in the house.
yeah, I mean,
we've got them all over the house in various places, in displays and whatever. And
bottles are cool.
My favorite bottle that I ever found was a Dr. Kilmer's Swamp Root for liver, kidney, and bladder cure.
Oh boy, I bet that had some good stuff in it too.
I bet it was like 100% whiskey, but there you go.
Well, yeah, they're usually the largest thing in those medicines was alcohol. That's why people liked them.
Snakeheads and whatever.
Yeah. Put a rattlesnake head in the jar and you use that for your main jar. Gives it a little bit of bite at the end.
Gives it just a little bite.
Anyway, I would recommend this guy too, because I do find him interesting. He was working he found and these places he looks at are mostly no longer there. So they have to figure out by the geography where to dig. And one of the things he sort of discovered recently, or maybe not recently, but one of the first videos I found recently was a deserted or abandoned fort, U.S. Army fort from the 1800s. When I say abandoned, I mean, they just left it and moved on. They didn't need them anymore or whatever. And he found the latrine site for that. And it was amazing the kinds of bottles and things he dug up in that, because it was boot polish and brass polish
and spurs.
And spurs.
Yeah.
Patent medicine bottles, a lot of whiskey bottles, a lot of beer bottles, which are, big beer bottles. I used to not even think about beer bottles in the Wild Wild West, but they existed. But he finds a lot of stuff like that, and things that were household items that no longer are used, or a lot of porcelain. Anyway, he finds a lot of really cool stuff too. I think he's worth watching, and he's basically uncovering some of the history of like the Dakotas. I mean, he works a lot up in the northern plains and the central plains, so I guess that's where he's from originally. Can't remember if he says, but it's called Below the Plains, and another one I recommend watching. I mean, this may be uncool, and this is nerdy as hell, but Mark and I are nerdy as hell anyway, and despite everything else we might talk about, but you can learn so much from this plot.
Diana, what would make somebody want to dig up an old bathroom? It was an outhouse, and of course, from today, if it was from the 1860s, it ain't an outhouse anymore. It's just
dirt. It's a hole.
It's just dirt with full of cool bottles and things
and other things that they threw away. Like I said, he digs up
spurs and buttons.
He
and
finds
whatever.
spurs. If it was a cavalry outfit, which was still
like they just throw it down the hole and pour some lime on it and go on.
Yeah. if they broke a spur, they just tossed it down the hole. I mean, that was the trash pit. That's where things went. So I mean, you could even find, like he said, buttons. He might have dig up the remains of some kind of hat or a helmet that they might have had for riding displays. I mean, he finds mostly a lot of bottles, but he finds other stuff too. Dirt or not.
Dirt or not.
I ain't stubbling Well, you can stand on the side, Diane, and see what they find. But
you can run the sifter.
Yeah, you can run the sifter. How about that? You won't have to dig anything up. You don't even have to touch it if you don't want to.
You just do the rocking motion and run the sifter.
I saw a guy years ago. The first time I ever realized and heard about this, and thought, "Dang, well, that makes a lot of sense." Was a guy who was digging outhouse pits in the east somewhere, and you could get a map. You could literally but you could go to the town hall, city hall, courthouse, whatever, where they had plats of the town, of these towns. Say I grew up in Johnson City, Tennessee, and you could go in and get a map of the city of Johnson City, say from 1830. If it was around then, but anyway, 1860, and on that map it showed the buildings and the houses, but it also showed the outhouses where pits had been or where they were now, and they were either personal or they were from public buildings, but that was what the bathrooms were then, and they were on these maps. So you can go back now 100 years later and find these things, find the locations, and they would dig them up and do the same thing, but in the east. That's the first place I ever learned about digging toilet pits. And never had I thought about that before. It was just, it amazed me. And I thought, but it makes so much sense because people use them for trash pits. I grew up with my grandparents still using outhouses, and they did the same thing. So, I just never thought about it as a kid. Now they burn
Roebuck.
Yeah, Sears and Roebuck
Sears and
land was
Roebucks and corn cob.
all laying there by the toilet hole. Pardon the expression, that might seem vulgar, but that's what it was. And but anyway, you'd be amazed what kind of history can be uncovered in somebody's outhouse pit. just put it that way. So people like Mark and I just kind of don't think about what it is, and we dig it, or would dig it.
We dig it.
But I want to, Mark said earlier, he's trying to get a hold of these two guys. What he wants to do is say, come out west and I'll take you to a place where we can find other fossils and dig them up or whatever and take them home or, show them. And then I come visit you somewhere in Florida and we go dig meg teeth. So if that ever happens, I'm going to try to get involved in it, even if I'm crippled. And, because I want to go, I want to go, especially, and Brenda wants to go dig meg teeth. So somehow or another, I got to make that happen. Oh, Carol, there's a picture of a Uper light, which is also a Michigan thing. If you guys can see it, it's in this image right here. Watch them turn the light on it, the black light. Oh, is you going to show it again? They did just a minute ago. There, boom. Isn't that cool? And that's called Uper light.
Uper.
And I guess that's the only place you find them is on the shores of Lake Michigan. Maybe in some of the other Great Lakes. So it's something that was pushed down by the glaciers, and that's where it ended up in the depths of the glacial pits that were lakes. And along the shoreline, you find these things. And I don't know if they find them anywhere else or not. But that's the only place I've ever heard of them. Of course, up there, they do call them Uper because it's in the UP. They find them along the coast of the UP, the Upper Peninsula. But they find them in other parts of Michigan, too. Well, Tina said, well, to be honest, half of either of your careers digging through well, Well, yeah, we know. And we'll accept that. I've heard about Uper lights, but I haven't seen them. Carol, you got to check them out. I mean, you live in that country. I had never heard of them either until last Christmas. And my son-in-law, we kind of try to make Christmas lists so people can, if they want to buy something or get us a gift, it's something we're looking for, like a book and that sort of thing. My son-in-law wanted some Uper lights to put in a display case they have with blue lights that my daughter uses to display her not radioactive, I guess, her radium glass and that stuff. And which is usually the green stuff from the Depression era. But anyway, he wanted Uper light. So I looked them up and I bought him a couple of pieces of Uper light for his Christmas present. One was carved in the shape of a dragon's head. I don't remember what the other one was. And well, maybe I had two different sized dragon heads, different styles. But they're really cool. And I haven't gotten one yet, but one of these days I'll have my own little black light on a Uper light, I'm sure. Or a Uper stone.
But I mean, look there. They found direwolf parts.
Yeah, look what they find. Not only really fabulous crystals, which is they go on hunts for that.
The coolest fossils on the planet.
But direwolf fossils, and they have somebody mentioned
Lots
this.
of black bears. They find a lot of black bear
Yeah.
parts.
I've yet to see a saber-tooth cat, but they did talk about it.
They
So
found some. They found some carnassials, the chewing teeth, the basically what would be your molars, but they
not
on
big.
cats they don't have like flat molars. They have shearing carnassials,
Yeah, toothy teeth. Yeah.
which suggests that they eat meat. And I've never seen them with a like saber.
Yeah, me either. I haven't
But
found that.
they found jaw teeth from that species, but not. I've never seen them find a saber yet, but I may have missed the episode or
Well,
something.
maybe, but I'm sure the day's coming when they will. But they just find these guys find
I
the
mean, they find
coolest
so
stuff.
much elephant, so much elephant material.
Oh yeah,
Either mastodon or mammoth, and they find
and
tons
they
of
do find both.
tons of megalodons, especially juveniles. That Florida country must have been just like
Oh my goodness.
a big old inland kind of
Shark
almost like a sound with
Yeah.
land here and there. Lots of horses, lots of tapirs, lots of glyptodonts and armadillos and those kind of critters.
I was looking, Phil, not to change the subject because I don't want to, but Phil, I don't know how far this is going out, but he's sending me notes, or I get notes from him every day through an internet mapping service. Phil's on the road and he's on his way to Arizona. Today he's on his way to Las Cruces, Mark. I'm sure he will go
Well,
somewhere.
I saw he was at Fort something in Texas yesterday.
He was, yeah. And he'd been.
And I figured he'd be hitting New Mexico today.
Yeah, he was. Well, they were down there a little bit in the Big Bend area, and to take photographs. His sister, I don't know if she'd ever been there before. His sister's traveling with him. I think it's his middle sister. He has an older half sister, and then Melissa may be the next one. That's who's with him now. And then he has a younger sister who lives in Arizona and is married to a prepper guy, and they're on that cutting edge of. Well, that's all I'm going to say about that.
Okay, I also purchased a saber-tooth skull for my youngest daughter, and she has it, and
yeah, the one Mark has,
it's pretty cool.
It's very cool.
It was a big old cat too. It was a big old cat.
And they're making those off real cat skulls that they've been.
Yeah, they're casting actual fossils.
So, I mean, you may not be a real fossil, but it's an exact replica of it, which I think is cool. But Mark's is unique because he got it from a place where they do them, bright and shiny, if you will. But they also do them where they're black and kind of dirty looking because they look like they were dug and freshly
Yeah,
dug.
it was right out of that particular skull came out of La Brea.
Right.
And so it was covered, it was stained with oil, tar, and they recreated it perfectly. And I just, it's amazing to me. But that thing's
that big.
That thing's this big.
It's football size or bigger. I mean, it's literally is that size.
Oh, it's bigger than a football. It's 1.5 footballs.
I helped pack it and bring it, take it to Wyoming. I think the teeth fell out, but you guys fixed that, didn't you? I mean,
I did.
I'm sure you have, but I want one. I've been telling Brenda I want one. Teddy says he wants one. So that's 2 against 1 right there. Because I said, Teddy said he voted for me.
Teddy will be Teddy's great grandpa.
Teddy said she loves it when people find out that dire wolves were real. Yes, they were. And there's all kind of haunted stories or crazy stories, you know, from that are about that make dire wolves, you know, bigger than natural, or they somehow turn them into other creatures that don't seem real, fantastical or whatever they call it. But they are dire wolves existed, and they were big, and they were a scary predator. And did they live alongside saber-toothed cats?
They did. So they were here, but we had regular wolves too at the time. The one we have now, Canis lupus, we had those then too. Dire wolves were heavier bodied and a little larger, but they're not. There's no direct link between them and modern wolves.
And that species died out completely.
Yeah, I mean, the same time the saber-tooths and the mammoths and the mastodons and all that went extinct, which I love. I love hearing like, oh, men came in with pointy spears and killed all of them. Yeah, whatever.
Yeah, right.
It was something much worse than men with pointy spears that did it.
Yeah, much worse.
Like your entire world changed overnight, basically. And
dire wolves, were they glacial? I mean, they weren't.
Well, they were here before.
Yeah, by the time the what am I trying to say? The Ice Age, the last Ice Age.
Yeah, so there was a gazillion creatures that went extinct when that ended.
Yeah. And started, for that matter.
And that's why it happened, not because of some dude with a Clovis point on the end of a shaft.
Yeah.
The overkill hypothesis, I just love that one. I've hunted stuff with a pointy spear. I can tell you that nothing was in danger of me making it go extinct.
Even if there was a whole bunch of yous.
Even if there was a bunch of me.
The one I got was from Natural Wonder. The skull is dark, but the teeth are cream color. Oh, cool. So you got one that looks.
Yeah, so Kay's got one the same kind of deal. I got mine from Skullduggery.
I got to remember that name because I was going to look that up one day and I forgot who they were.
And they have a whole bunch of. I mean, you can buy bison antiquus skulls. You can buy maybe some mastodon or mammoth parts. They've got a lot of stuff they cast.
And they do different sizes too. So they do have some reduced size saber-tooth cats that are maybe less expensive than the big ones. I mean, they have a good selection.
Some of them make other species of saber-tooth cats, like Hoplophoneus and some of the other saber-tooth cats. But I don't know if Skullduggery does that or not. They were really specializing on La Brea stuff for a while, but I don't know if they still do that or not.
Yeah, I don't know either for that. Kay has a question. I'll let you answer that. If you see it.
Yeah, there were a lot of those species, Kay, that were apparently extinct prior to pointy stick people.
Oh, looky here.
There's still a debate on, they had those giant short-faced bears. There's still a debate on whether I don't think you're in the right place, buddy.
I'm not, but they're talking. No, I'm not. This is the wrong thing. I thought that first one was, but it's not.
But there's some debate about whether they existed alongside humans or didn't. Yeah, there was a lot of stuff happening to the earth at the time that favored or didn't favor certain species, and they went away or became more, prominent.
Yeah, and species did affect other species at times because as one was fading out of existence, the others would get more. There would be
Yeah,
more.
they fill that niche
Yeah,
and become the dominant species. Like when bison antiquus, which definitely existed with humans,
yeah, they did.
um, I mean, we were hunting them and eating them, and then they faded out, and the modern bison became the primary bison species in North America, at least. And yeah, so
And here's a picture of Bree holding up a display of some stuff they found probably in one day. But if you look at it, I can't make it hold still. If you look at it, there's teeth on that display. There's a meg tooth, but there's also stone points of a couple of different types.
those are those big Ashtabula points that I think they're called Ashtabulas.
Which is
Big,
what we
big
found in
spear
that
point.
picture. And I think the one on the far left is a horse tooth of some that species of something or another. I think I might be wrong. And on the far right might be a fossilized molar of some kind or another. Again, I could be wrong. The bottom left-hand shark tooth looks kind of like almost like a snaggletooth shark, but it may not be. Anyway, there's a couple of different species right there. A megalodon, and the other one is, I don't know if that's a way that's curved. That's a, I don't know, that could be a tiger. Oh, she did it again. It says in this, sometimes Bree out hunts them. She's probably got more patience and looks better. She found something from a 40,000-year-old ocean floor, 40 million-year-old ocean floor. Mark Honeycutt stuff. These are good. This lady was interesting. She was with a group of first responders that was up in the valleys hunting people and helping people after the floods. And she said that at one point they'd found they had 100 flags along this one creek bed that were where dogs had spotted, had what do they call it? When a dog finds something, it makes let's call it pointed. Had pointed out possibilities of cadavers. So
Yeah,
they're still not, I don't know if they're still sure how many of these have, and they may not have all had bodies, but they may have had them at one time. So they're still hunting a lot of that kind of stuff. There's a nice tooth. I think that's a big dolphin tooth. Oh,
you
jaguar.
just said camel.
Well, that too, there's a camel tooth, but when I take it away, there's a jaguar tooth. That is cool. I'd like to find that. There's a big meg tooth right here on this one. Prehistoric whales and dolphins. Oh my. Oh, there's a neat tooth. That might be a white shark or not a white. What do they call them? It's like the precursor. It's like the precursor to the great white shark.
It's a mako.
A mako of some kind, yeah, maybe. There's that. That's it. That head. Yeah, this is the one, Mark, where he was using a knife. He was scraping away that bank, and he heard something click, and out popped that arrowhead or that point. Unbroken, untouched. I feel like you touch something like that, and your body just something inside just runs all the way back to that and come. If you're sensitive to it, at least. And I'm serious about
5,000 years old.
Yeah. I better shut that screen off, I guess, for now. I've exposed enough people.
I got to see if I can find something real quick.
But get out there and look, guys. There's some amazing stunts out there. This is Paleo Chris's. I'll show this real quick. This is Paleo Chris's website, not his YouTube site, although you can access it. And yes, they do sell stuff. I mean, they probably make a living doing some of this, but this is his website.
You went back to the little.
Well, I did for just a minute. I'm going to just hang on. This is some of the stuff they do, make and sell. Geodes. Oh, that's cool. And I think this is part of what Bree's into. I think she's into making art out of some of the stuff. And
skulls.
My daughter is.
She's like your daughter. She's making art out of skulls, and
yeah, she's using stuff like that to create art. But my daughter hasn't gotten that deep into it yet to get that far back. But something like this fox skull crystal structure is something my daughter would do if she had it. She's done several cats and still does cats. She's bought some skulls. I don't know what her webpage is right now, and I don't know if my wife's still alive. But if she had, it would have been something like that. So stop sharing. Stop presenting. Go back to my right screen. There I am. Anyway, go ahead, Mark. You got the.
Well, I just found this a couple weeks ago. It's a level constricted base.
I wish I could make you the big.
You made me the little one now.
Yeah, I'm trying to make you the big one.
You made me the little one again.
Sorry, buddy. Let me just go back to normal.
Just go back to regular.
Yeah, here. There, it's bigger.
It's that thick. It's made out of sugar quartz. It's not an eighth of an inch thick anywhere. And it's 8,500 years old. So.
And that's original, not Mark made.
No, I picked this up.
Yeah. And what point is that?
What's that?
What kind of point is that?
Level constricted base, 8,500 years.
Wow. I mean,
and I've been complaining for years. I find flakes of this stuff all over the desert. You can see through it.
Oh, yeah.
You can see light through it. I find flakes of it everywhere, and I never find points. I never find tools. Every now and again, I found a tip of something that was broken, but very rarely.
And a lot of people say they didn't.
And there's a gazillion chips out there in the desert, and I'm like, why are there not tools made of this stuff here somewhere? And I finally found this, and my daughter was right beside me, and I'm like, look at that laying over there. And she went darting towards it. And I'm like, oh no, that's not how this is going to go down.
I'm picking it up.
You leave that laying right where it is. I need to take a photo of it in the sand. And
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, didn't you also tell me that
I took a bunch of my grandkids and both my son-in-laws, and we went to this spot that I had found a point before, and I'm the only one that found anything this trip too, and they're like, "You suck."
Because in the world of this kind of stuff, it's almost like the person that touches it first gets to claim it. so you don't want that. I mean, you want to be the first one.
Well, it's like homie Cole and I used to he couldn't see an antler to save his life. He could not see a shed antler. And I'd start angling kind of towards something, and he'd start looking at me, and he'd see it finally, and he'd take off running. But he was never faster than I was. So,
and homie Cole was the guy, really good guy that Mark that spent some time with Mark at school in New Mexico, or at least time out in the on the high plains or whatever you call it out there of that border area, and yeah, it was cool. Good, neat things out there too. But anyway,
he was the best arrowhead hunter I've ever met, and the
oh
worst
yeah,
and the worst antler finder I've ever met.
no, I got. In fact, I have a little obsidian arrow point or point, probably is an arrow
That homie gave you.
that homie gave me that is just perfect and beautiful, and it's really nice, and I've got that somewhere, and I got to find it again, but I had it in a secured, and of course nothing is secured yet here in this building, but I'm sure it's here safe. I'll show it again someday, but it's a beautiful little point. And homie found that. So yeah, he was a good arrowhead hunter. I can attest to that. And when were you laughing at him or something else?
I'm just thinking of homie.
Oh, he
He loved in living color. That's where that came from. Homie the clown.
oh, that's right. Daryl Cole was his name. Daryl. I couldn't think of his first name for a minute. And anyway, you talk about
wonderful human being.
We talk about seeing drops, which are antlers that have fallen off of deer type critters, deer species, and but and it's a good point because you have a very attuned eye to things like fossils and arrowheads. A lot of people could see the same piece of dirt, and maybe including myself because I'm not looking for them like you have, especially in recent history. But I mean, and somebody might look at the same square yard of dirt and they may see nothing. And you look at it and you can almost catch them just in glimpses, like little snapshots, and pick them up. It's like hunting 4-leaf clovers. You may think this is BS, but I have stood in a patch of 4-leaf clovers and I don't see them. But I've known people who had the eye, for lack of a better word, who could look into a patch of 4-leaf clovers and look right at my feet where I'm searching and searching and searching and find 3 or 4. Just pick them out. Well, I worked with a guy, Dave Harrell, my hider buddy, and
You're right. Hold on, don't step on your lap. You're hider, buddy.
Yeah, my hider buddy.
I've told you, don't step on your lap.
Okay.
You're hider, buddy. Oh, okay.
Anyway,
I'm back.
he had the eye for 4-leaf clovers. And that doesn't mean he can find arrowheads or deer antlers, but he could see 4-leaf clovers. And he could just look. We had a big patch of clover out behind our trailer when I first went to work at TVA. We worked a triple wide trailer that was set up below the dam up there and at Norris. And we'd go out there and take a coffee break or something, and 3 or 4 of us might be out there. And we might all start looking because this, clover had all kinds of supposedly had all kinds of 4-leaf clovers in it. And there might be 3 of us looking around and not find one, or we might find one, and Dave would find 4 or 5. He just looked and bing, bing, bing. I mean, he could just see them. And arrowheads and stuff like that are just like that. If you don't have that eye, or you don't practice them, or you don't somehow have that natural. I mean, can't believe that Dave Harrell spent so much time in 4-leaf clover patches that he somehow practiced finding them. What?
Oh, I'm just waving to Diane.
Oh, she leaving?
Diana's out.
It's about that time anyway.
She's sneaking out.
But thanks for being here, Diana. And I'll talk to you guys later.
Hope you guys stay warm in Manitoba.
Yeah, stay warm up there. Mike was out handing out candy the other night, and I think he was cold because he said he didn't dress up enough. But he said he had on his toque. He said, "But I got my toque."
You had a toque on?
Yeah. I said, "Damn, that looks like a
Voyager Cat.
Oh yeah, or just a toboggan as we call them.
Yeah. They
Anyway, I was going to say, but
well, I
anyway,
don't know what they're experiencing weather-wise up there. I don't know what kind of weather they're having up there.
Well, it was getting cold, but I don't think it's real cold. I don't think they've got snow yet. Maybe a dusting, but I think they told me they didn't really have any snow yet. But it was starting to get cold.
Well, we took it for them.
So when a Canadian says it's just starting to get cold, I don't know if that means it's already down in the teens and and heading further.
It was 9 here this morning when I woke up. 9.
It's so exciting.
Yeah. Ooh.
So much fun.
I'm so happy.
9 degrees. Here, fun fact here. 9 degrees recorded. I probably have beat this, but it's been 40 years ago. But officially, since my adult life started riding motorcycles again and all that, got really into it and rode to work every day. 9 degrees was the coldest I left home on my bike to drive to work one morning.
That's double tough right there, buddy.
But I had heaters on. I had heated pants, I believe, and heated. I don't know if I had a heated vest on then. I don't know if I had a vest yet, but I did have heated pants or chaps.
That helps.
And I had not heated gloves yet, but I had heaters in my grips on my handlebars. So,
oh yeah.
Plus, I had fairings. So between those things, I stayed pretty warm.
But 9 degrees on a motorcycle.
But it's chilly at 9 degrees, yes.
It's like 9 degrees horseback. It's not any fun.
Yeah. Well, after a while, even your heated legs start to get cold and stiff. You have to get off and stretch. You don't want to go too far that way.
Well, my boy rode 2 days ago. They, right in the middle of this, brought the cows down off the mountain.
Oh, yeah.
And I was so happy I wasn't home.
You're right.
Because they'd expected me to do that 30-mile ride, froze to the saddle. And
froze to the saddle.
And it was weird because it was the exact opposite of normal. There was about an inch of snow up in the higher stuff, maybe an inch and a half.
This is when it first started.
And the further they got east, the deeper the snow got in the lower elevation stuff.
It's weird.
Which is just opposite what normally happens. And it was, they started at daylight and they ended up at 9 p.m. back at the ranch. So.
Well, they survived. I bet they were frozen solid, though.
Cold. They had to change horses, which we almost never do. So.
Yeah.
They had to trade out ponies mid-ride.
What did they take the ponies? They put them in a trailer and took them home at that point so they could warm up in the barn, or did they just keep them in the trailer?
No, they just stayed in the trailer until they got done with the drive. But
they were out of the wind and everything.
It was, but they were happy to not be under saddle and chasing some stupid old cow that didn't want to move.
Hang on a minute. I got an idea.
You got an idea? Uh-oh.
Yeah.
Everybody duck.
I'm looking for a photograph. Come on. Where's the one I want? I don't know.
A photo.
Yeah, that's not good enough. I was trying to find a photograph of a cowboy in the snow, but I'm not going to do that. I got to look. Oh,
just look at Charlie Russell waiting for the Chinook.
Yeah, well, that's the one I was actually looking for, but I couldn't remember the name. So
that's when all the cows died on the northern plains. So they'd been bringing Texas cattle, longhorn types, up north for a decade probably, and stocked all the northern ranges with longhorns. And
Which is
then
not the thing to
I
do.
think it was 1883, blizzards of 1883, like put a bunch of people in the poorhouse that were rich men.
All their cows died.
All their cows died, and they restocked the plains with cattle from Oregon and Washington after that.
Which
Beef,
was probably
beef cattle that weren't longhorns. So
yeah, cattle that originated in northern parts of Europe and stuff.
yeah, like Herefords and Angus and
That
things.
sort of thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
And maybe even a few North or Highland cattle or something that, like you said, existed in the cold climates before it got there.
Right.
Anyway, all right, guys, I'm going to shut down. I want to talk to Mark before you go. Don't leave me yet. You can sign off here or not. Stay in the window a minute, or I'll cut you off if you want me to. But
you do what you need to do.
Well, I want to ask you a question, so I want to wait. But anyway, guys, thanks everybody for showing up. You don't know how much this means to me. I mean, I've been stuck in the house, and I know I popped on the other night prowling for a few minutes on the live screen while I was sitting on the porch. We didn't have any trick or treaters, by the way, and I thought we would out here, but we didn't. But anyway, I do appreciate it getting out of the house and escaping.
We didn't have any either. They would have had to have their snowsuit on over their costume, but
yeah, out there they have them indoors, don't they?
No, they did. I don't know what they call it. It's not trick or treat. It's trunk or treat.
Yeah,
trunk or treat. So they did that twice in Kemmer this week.
Oh, really?
2 different deals, and my grandchildren all went to it. And the first one, it was cold enough. My oldest grandson, he was bawling like a little baby because he was cold.
That'd be Owen.
I mean, he was like cold, and it was cold outside. I mean, Grandpa was in wool clothes, and his poor grandson was in some lycra dragon suit.
Oh, it was cold then.
And he was froze. And I was like, why don't you take this boy home and warm him up? He don't even want candy no more.
Oh, he's cold then.
Yeah.
So anyway, guys, thanks for being here. Really love it. I appreciate it a lot. Let me get my hand over here so you can see that I'm actually trying to wave. I'm allowed to do this because I'm not physically using my hand. So Brenda won't get on me. So if she discovers me out here and shuts down the official country of Tim, where'd that come from?
The what?
I put on that on my thing. You may not read those. I said the library is now the country of Tim.
The country of Tim.
That came from the country of Jones.
Oh, yeah.
Civil War. Look it up.
The country of Tim, the country of Jones.
Yeah, so Brenda may come out here and shut me.
That's a great movie, by the way.
Yeah, I got to watch. I haven't actually seen it.
Oh, you need to watch it. It's good.
But anyway,
The Free State of Jones.
The Free State of Jones. That was the name of it. Free State of Jones. So it should be the Free State of Tim. Anyway, gonna shut down. Thanks, guys. I'll hopefully see you again next week and probably be more organized and have a better show, if you will. Although I've really enjoyed this one personally. And I think you guys have too. So anyway, we'll see y'all next time around, and I mean this in the literal sense. If the creek don't rise, we'll be back.